The Sports Town Podcast.
Okay, and I know I said we're going to switch gears to Copa America, but I do want to get one more question. What do you give? Of course, I'm from the U.S. I know the U.S. has gotten better, but what do you give them chances of possibly winning the World Cup, or even, I know they're not going to win the World Cup most likely, but what do you think about their chances of at least making somewhat of a run?
Well, actually, I think since the last time we spoke, I believe, I think this was, the States, the USA played Mexico in the final of the inaugural CONCACAF Nations League, and they won, and it was quite a performance from the US, and for the first time in a long time, I like the USA team. You know, the US men's team, the US women's team have always been brilliant, but the US men's team traditionally, you look at them and they're working harder than everybody else. They're, always very athletic guys. They can run and run, but technically they're not great. Their passing isn't great. Their shooting isn't great. Their interplay, passing between players and moving at the same time isn't great. But this team, you're starting to see like a core emerge of players who play in Europe, and who came up in Europe. So you have like Christian Pulisic, you have Gio Reyna, you have Yunus Musa, even Brendan Aronson moved from Philadelphia Union to RB Salzburg in Austria. And I wouldn't put it past the US to get to maybe the round of 16 or the quarterfinals next year. But the really exciting thing is, and where I think they should be aiming, is that in 2026, the World Cup is being hosted in North America. So it's split between Canada, the US and Mexico. And I see no reason why, if they have a good World Cup next year and they keep bringing through these young, exciting players, I would expect the USA to get to quarterfinals, semi-finals in 2026 on home soil. And I think at that stage, the US men's national team will be a sensation in the States.
Yeah, that's great, because I can see the fans are starting to get more involved in, soccer and stuff like that. And especially if it's in North America, that would be huge.
Yeah.
Let's now switch gears to the Copa America. Argentina wins. What did you, or I guess Argentina was probably the favorite to win, but what did you just think of that whole tournament?
So the final of the Copa America was actually only the second game from the tournament that I'd seen, because obviously with time zones, they played them late at night in South America, which is like the middle of the night here in Ireland. So I had to stay up until like 1 a.m. to see the final. And actually Brazil were the reigning champions of the Copa America, and Argentina haven't won it since 1993. So Brazil went in as favourites, which I thought was strange. And of course you have Leo Messi, who renewed we'll talk about that in a minute, but who has never won a major tournament with Argentina. He's the captain of Argentina, and one of the criticisms leveled at him was always that he never brought a trophy to Argentina. I mean, he won, I think, Olympic soccer, and he won the Under-20 World Cup in terms of a senior trophy, which is basically the Copa or the World Cup. And this Argentina team, again, have that thing of they're behind Messi, they have a good attitude, and they came in, and the Copa was strange this year. It was in Brazil because of COVID, because Brazil was the only country in South America that would risk it from a COVID point of view. So they said you can have it here, but there was very limited capacity. There weren't people traveling from other countries. A lot of commentators said it was one of the less colourful, less eventful Copa Americas that we've had in a long time. But Argentina won't care. That won't matter to them. They won, And the Argentina generation currently is very exciting. I mean, they have players, obviously you have Messi, but then you have Angel Di Maria, who's the same generation as Messi, plays for PSG. He was brilliant. He scored the winning goal when Argentina beat Brazil 1-0 in the final. You have Rodrigo de Paul and Lautaro Martinez, who are younger Argentina players who are exciting. And I think Argentina now, having won their first trophy since '93, Leo Messi has brought a championship to Argentina. They are another team now who have, they've addressed the elephant in the room. They've had this thing on their back for so long that we can't ever follow through. We can't ever actually win anything. But now that's broken their duck. That's the phrase I was looking for. And now they can go into the World Cup and they say, hey, we're winners. We're continental champions of South America. There's no reason why we can't go toe to toe with Brazil if we meet them again, or with, Italy, or with England, or France, or any of these. They're not afraid of anybody, and they're fierce. They're competitors. I mean, I don't know if you saw any Copa America final. but it was like watching WWE at times. The tackles going in, people were flying through the air, there were clotheslines happening, there were big lunges. So Argentina won't be afraid of anybody next year. Leo Messi is still the best player in the world. God, I'm excited for the World Cup.
So what do you think about Argentina's chances of winning the World Cup? I'm assuming they're going to be somewhere in the top there. What do you think about their chances of actually winning the World Cup next year?
I think they'll fancy their own chances. I don't think they're quite strong enough to do it. I think their defense was flattered a little bit by Brazil, who found themselves a little bit toothless. They're missing a couple of players. So I don't think Argentina will be able to defend strongly enough to actually win the World Cup. But if Messi is still in form, if the players like Rodrigo de Paul and Di Maria are still there, and a couple of others, Leo Paredes, if these players are all clicking, there's no reason Argentina couldn't be, again, semi-finalists. The likes of England, Italy, Argentina, these are going to Spain. I think were excellent in the Euros as well. These are kind of the early, pack to chase in the World Cup.
Okay. Yeah, because I would feel like Argentina would be somewhere because they're always one of the top tier teams. So
yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Town Podcast, or the STP Pod for short. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and much more. Also, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Sports Town Podcast. If you want to check out more videos of the Sports Town Podcast, click on the right.